Hi, this is Julia from Livewire Libraries, and as part of the May Digital project, I'm going to introduce you to Unity, which is a professional game development platform. So today in part 1, we're going to install and set up Unity on our computers, and then we're going to do the first part of a simple video game. What we're going to do today is set up the robot. What we're going to do today is start to build a simple video game. Today, what we're going to do is just build the robot part of the video game. And in parts 2 and 3, we'll continue on to build the game further. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to navigate to the website in order to download Unity so that we can install it onto our computer. What we want to do is type into the internet browser dojo.soy/getunity and then hit the enter button. And then we want to click on the download installer button. So you can see it's navigated us to the Unity website. And if you scroll down, there'll be some terms of service that we have to read and comply with. So it's asking us to click the box on the left-hand side to confirm that we're accepting the terms of service. And once we do that, we'll be able to scroll down further and left click on the Download Unity Hub button. And once we do that, it'll start downloading the software. Now, this does take some time, so I've sped this part of the video up because it will take you a bit of time to download Unity onto your computer. And then the terms of service comes up. And what you need to do is read that licensing agreement. And then if you agree, just left click on the I agree button at the bottom. And then it'll ask you to choose the installation location and it'll begin installing Unity Hub onto your computer. And then once it completes installing the Unity Hub setup, you just left click on the finish button and it'll finish installing Unity onto your computer. And here I've got Windows Defender Firewall is blocking some of the features, and it's just asking me a couple of questions how I intend to use the Unity Hub software. So I'm just telling it it's only going to be on a private network. I'm not going to use it on public networks, such as in airports and coffee shops, and then to allow access to the private network. So you'll notice in the bottom left-hand corner that it says you have no valid license. So what we need to do in order to use the Unity software that has now successfully installed, what we'll need to do is set up an account with Unity so that we'll be able to use the free version of their software for personal use only. So if we go to the top right-hand corner and click on the little man, left click on the little man, it'll bring down a pull-down menu where you can see that there's a sign-in option there. And if we left click on the sign-in option, it takes us to a sign into your Unity page, which allows us to create a new Unity ID if we don't have one. So it says right there, sign into your Unity ID. If you don't have a Unity ID, please create one. So if you click on the blue create one, it will continue to a page where you can set up a Unity ID. And here it's asking for a valid email address, and it's also asking for a password and full name. And then it asks us to read the terms and conditions and acknowledge the terms and conditions before we're able to hit the button on the bottom to create Unity ID. So once we left click on Create Unity ID, it's going to ask us to confirm our email. So we have to go to our email box and confirm that we've gotten the email. Now when we go back to the projects page, up in the top right hand corner, it's got the initials. If we left click on that, it'll bring down a menu, and here we want to select Manage License. So left click on Manage License from the drop down menu. And then on the license screen, we want to left click on the manual activation button in the top right hand corner. That'll bring up a pop-up, and then we hit a left click on the Save License Request button. And then we save the license request file name. It'll come up Unity_LIC will be the file name. And we just save that to somewhere that we remember. I've just decided to save mine to the desktop so that I can find it easily. And then we'll next navigate to the manual activation page through the hyperlink on that pop-up. And here it asks us to choose the license request file. So here we want to browse to the location of where we've just saved the license request file. In my case, I saved it to the desktop. So I'll navigate there to retrieve it here in the Browse button. And then I hit the Next button. And here under Activate License, I choose the Unity Personal Edition. And then I'm just going to go ahead and select the Don't Use Unity in a Professional Capacity because you're a student studying in Unity, and then hit the Next button. And then here you can download the license file. So left click on Download License File. It will save it to your Downloads folder. And then go back to the Manual Activation pop-up and hit the Next button. And where it asks for the license file, what you do is you hit the ellipsis there, the three dots on the right hand side, and then navigate to your downloads file and select the download file that it just downloaded for your license. And the downloads file will be called something such as Unity_V 2017, as you can see there in my downloads folder. And then hit the Open button with one left click. And then in the manual activation pop-up, just left click once on the Confirm button in the bottom right hand corner. So now it's activated your license. You can always click the check for updates if you'd like to see if there's any updates. And once it's done looking for updates, we're going to left click on the Preferences arrow in the top left hand corner and go back to Projects. In Projects, up in the top right hand corner, we're going to click on the New button. And there it brings up the screen to create a new project with Unity. And we're going to lead the selection onto the 3D cube because we're going to create a 3D project with Unity. And the project name defaults to New Unity Project, but I'm going to go ahead and change the name of my project. So I just click over Project Name and create a new project name. And I'm going to call this project Beginner Unity Sushi. And then once I've typed the new project name, Beginner Unity Sushi, I'm just going to left click on the Create button in the bottom right hand corner. And this will cause Unity to load the project. Now this has been sped up as well because it does take Unity quite a while to load the project templates and the packages. And after Unity has opened up and loaded all the packages and loaded all the scenes, this is the main screen that we see, which has a hierarchy on the left-hand side, project folders on the bottom, an inspector on the right-hand side. And as you can see in the middle of the screen, we have a scene. So the first thing I'm going to do is up in the top right-hand corner, there's a layout section. So I'm just going to hit that down arrow in the layout section to open the menu. And in the layout menu, I'm going to left click and select default. Now down in the bottom left hand corner in the panel named Assets, there's a folder inside of Assets that's called Scenes. And if I look inside the scenes folder, there's already a sample scene that's been created and left in the folder for us. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a copy of it and save that scene by another title. So to do this, I'll go into the top left-hand corner to the File pull-down menu. And in File pull-down, what I'm going to do is select Save As. And here I'm going to, in the file name, I'm going to give the scene name another title. I'm going to call it Maze Robo Begins, and then left click on the Save button. And of course, when I hit the Save button, I want to make sure that I'm inside the Scenes folder so that my Maze Robo Begins scene gets saved within the Assets folder, within the Scenes folder, within the Assets folder. And so within my Scenes folder, inside the Assets folder, I now have two scenes saved. One is the sample scene that came with the project, readily made. And then the other one is the Maze Robo Begins scene that I've just done a save. So I've just copied the sample scene, copied and saved as Maze Robo Begins. And now from time to time, as you go along and as you work, you're going to want to go back up into the top left-hand corner and pull down the File pull-down menu and do a save. And that saves the work that you've worked on so far. So just remember every so often as you do work in Unity to select the File pull-down menu up in the top left-hand corner and click the Save option. Okay, so now that we've installed and set up Unity, now we're going to start making our robot. So what I need to do is go up into the Game Object menu. So left click on Game Object up in the top left, and it'll bring down a pull down menu. And in the pull down menu, we want to select 3D Object. And then within the 3D Object menu, we want to select Capsule. And so this capsule is going to be the body of our robot. Now if I click on the capsule in the middle of the screen in the scene area, what's going to happen is on the right hand side it's going to open up an inspector of options and menus. It says inspector at the top. You can see there's several sections down the list in this inspector menu. And up at the top of the inspector menu, it's given us the name of the capsule as capsule. We're going to go up into that name capsule, and we're going to change that to Maze Robo. And now we're going to make sure that Maze Robo is that capsule is right in the middle of the game world. So we're going to go into the transform part of the inspector menu, and we're going to click on the three dots, and we're going to choose the reset option. So pick those three dots on the right hand side of the transform menu and then left click on reset. So we've got the basic body of our robot, but we want to add a couple more objects to our robot to add detail. So what we're going to do is go back to the Game Object menu up in the top left hand, and we're going to choose 3D Object again, but this time we're going to choose a cube. And we're going to change the name of the cube from cube to shades, because these are going to be the shades of our robot, the shades that the robot's wearing. And then we're going to go back another time into the Game Objects pull-down menu. Again, we're going to choose 3D Object, but this time we're going to choose Sphere. And this time we're going to change the name of the sphere to Nose, because this is going to be the robot's nose. Then if we look in the hierarchy in the top left-hand side of the screen, we see that the robot, the shades, and the nose appear to be three independent objects. But really what we want to do is have the shades and the nose belong to our Maze Robo. So we're going to drag these into the hierarchy by clicking on the nose and clicking on the shades and dragging them up to Maze Robo until the nose and the shades fits within the Maze Robo section of the hierarchy. So now the nose and the shades belong to the robot. And so when we move the robot, the shades and nose will move alongside with the robot so that they move together. Now, if we select shades, so left click on shades in the hierarchy on the left-hand side, and then if we look over to the right-hand side within the inspector menu and look at the position, we'll see that the position defaults to X0, Y0, Z0. So these coordinates are basically controlling the object's position. So this is saying where the shades first appear. But we can change the position by changing the X, Y, and Z values of the shades by changing the X, Y, and Z values within this transform section. So what you want to do is have a little go of changing X, the number in the X field, to see what happens to the shades when you change the X value, and do the same with the Y and the Z values. Try positive numbers and see what happens, and then try negative values and see what happens if you change the position to negative values. And here's me performing a little bit more of a controlled experiment where I change the X position by 2 and then by -2 to compare to see what happens to the cube if I move it 2 in the X position, -2 in the X position. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same with the Y, see what happens to the cube if I move Y2 or if I move it -2. And then the same with Z, I'm going to move it 2 and then -2, and just compare and contrast to see what exactly is the X, what is the Y, and what is the Z, and what happens when you put a positive value in as opposed to a negative value. And we're just doing this to familiarize ourselves with the space of the scene, to understand that there's X, Y, and Z axes and values, and that it impacts an object when we change its position. In the transform section of Inspector, it actually moves the object one way or another, and this is how we control where the object is located on the screen. And here, after we're done playing around and getting our bearings on the scene screen, we're going to put in an X value of 0, a Y value of 0.64, and a Z value of 0.42 for the shades. And then we're going to go over into the left-hand side and click on the nose within the hierarchy, and we're going to change its position to an X value of 0, a Y value of 0.5, and a Z value of 0.5. And now what we need to do is change the scale of our shades and of our nose, or I should say our robot's shades and robot's nose. So what we want to do is left click on shades back in the hierarchy, and in the inspector where it says scale, we want to change the scale to an X of 0.64, a Y of 0.16, and a Z of 0.16. And then we want to left click on the nose in the hierarchy section on the left hand side, click on the nose, and then go back to scale on the right hand side inspector and set the nose scale to an X of 0.16, a Y of 0.16, and a Z of 0.16. This will make sure that the nose is scaled to be in line with the robot's face, and that the shades will be scaled down to be in line with the robot's face. Now it's hard to see that the shades in the nose are in line with the robot's face because we're so far away in the scene. The scene in the middle is so far away from us. So what you want to do is zoom in to the scene view. Now there's two ways to do this. You can either use your mouse scroll wheel to zoom in and out, or you can press the Alt right click and then move your mouse to zoom in and out. So go ahead and give a try of moving your mouse scroll wheel, or the Alt plus right click and then moving your mouse to see if you can scroll in and out of the screen and see the robot up more closely. And basically here you just want to play around with your mouse and see what changes you can make to the point of view and the perspective and the scene by changing things with your mouse. What happens when you right click on the mouse? What happens when you left click on the mouse? And also there's perspective changes up in the top right hand corner. If you see the Y and the Z and the X, these are ways where you can change the perspective and point of view of your scene. So go ahead and give that a try as well, and just test and play around and see if you can move around the field of view of your scene. So thank you for watching part 1 of the Unity demonstration. Please stay tuned next week for part 2, where we color our robot, we add an environmental background to the scene, and we also make our robot move.